The most dangerous man in a room is the one who is articulate. Words have the ability to shape perceptions and influence decisions. Ayanokoji uses this skill as his only weapon. He avoids violence whenever possible and uses his strategic thinking to solve problems. Your ability to project your thoughts to other people will greatly determine your capacity to win, even if you don't have any other skill to back it up. High-level communication is essential for influence. Like most people, I used to suck at communication. I acted as if it wasn't important and convinced myself that my actions spoke louder than words. It wasn't until later in life that I recognized the true impact of communication. I came to understand that power holds no real value unless it can be transformed into influence. It's one of the most important skills that you need to master to win at anything. That is when I started learning the art of communication, and it drastically changed my results in life. This channel blew up because I was able to put my message across. People understand what I'm saying and resonate with the message, even without me ever showing my face or physical presence. I am going to teach you how to achieve this. This is going to be one of the most important videos on this channel, so don't skip any part. We will go over 4 ways to articulate your thoughts and influence everyone. Number 1. It's less about what you say and more about the way you say it. The tone in which you say things matters a lot, especially while doing business. If the other person gets offended when you give criticism or point out areas of improvement, it might lead to a missed opportunity. It's very important to understand what the other person wants to hear. This is why you may come across as rude when you say something which triggers their insecurities without you intentionally doing so. Ayanokoji never bursts out or shows anger. He always stays calm and avoids escalation wherever possible. He chooses his words very carefully and never says anything that might make him look weak in any situation. Always remain low-key and talk in a courteous manner. A commitment to avoiding profanity ensures that relationships remain intact and you do not find yourself on someone's bad side. In the intricate dance of communication, the nuances of delivery often wield more influence than the words themselves. Try to hear yourself talk as much as possible. Try talking with as many people as you can and observe the tone of your voice. How deep is it? Do you sound intimidating? Do you sound like a little girl? Do you come across as rude or do you sound polite? Keep these things in mind the next time you have a conversation with someone. Number 2, stop using Most people can't even form a clear sentence in their mind. When you can't finish a sentence without saying or ah, it bothers people. It makes you seem confused and weak. It leaves an impression of indecision that erodes your credibility. If you can't project your thoughts without stuttering, it makes it impossible to convince anyone of your ideas. Confidence is the currency of persuasion, and a speech littered with verbal crutches devalues your intellectual capital. Imagine your ideas as seeds. The more effectively you plant them in the minds of others, the more likely they are to take root. Ayanokoji's clarity of expression served him well, allowing him to navigate social landscapes with finesse. The only time Ayanokoji used was when he had to introduce himself in front of Class D, and he intentionally wanted to make himself look dumb. So unless you want to make yourself look dumb, stop using pauses and speak clearly. People will stop taking you seriously if you stutter and can't speak properly. You come across as indecisive and uncertain if your speech is filled with garbage filler words, or when you start to repeat yourself. Your message will be boring and forgotten if you use too many filler words, while it will be remembered and understood if you keep it concise and straight to the point. Resist the urge to digress or share unrelated anecdotes. If you find yourself veering off course, pause, regroup, and redirect your thoughts before you continue speaking. Number 3, shut up and listen. That's right. Being an adept listener is the secret sauce for influencing people. It may sound simple, but in reality, it's a skill that's more difficult than the art of speaking. Why? It's because you are more interested in yourself than in the other person. You might deny it, but the truth is that you're more engrossed in your own thoughts, ideas, and experiences, things you're certain about, rather than focusing on the other person and what they're expressing, what's going on inside them. If you can flip that perspective, if you can genuinely feel the motivation to delve into someone else's thoughts and experiences, you will suddenly find yourself becoming a better listener. Don't interrupt. Being interrupted is frustrating for the other person, as it gives the impression that you think you're more important or that you don't have time for what they have to say. If you are naturally a quicker thinker or speaker, force yourself to slow down so that the other person can express themselves. Remember, a pause or a few seconds of silence doesn't mean that you have to jump in. Letting the other person speak will make it easier for you to understand their message. Listen to nonverbal cues. Facial expressions, tone of voice, and gestures can tell you just as much as what is being said in words. Pay attention to what the other person is saying with their body language. Listen without judging or jumping to conclusions. If you start reacting emotionally to what's being said, it can get in the way of listening to what is said next. Try to focus on listening equally. Don't try to predict what the other person is going to say, and don't plan a response because you can't listen and prepare at the same time. Number 4. Think before you speak. We see countless people merely rambling their thoughts as if they were having a conversation with themselves. They fail to pay attention to what they say. It's not because they are crafting a stellar response, but rather feel the pressure to reply fast. However, this pressure isn't real, but they fabricate it within their own minds. They sense the obligation to reply fast. This occurs routinely, even in daily conversations. Just because someone questions you doesn't mean that you give an instantaneous reply. Think, is what I'm discussing genuinely valuable, or do I come off as a dork who's squandering people's time and attention? That's right. When you reply fast without thinking, you risk appearing like a dork. To prevent this from occurring, think before you speak. That momentary pause can prevent you from uttering some of the most regrettable statements you've ever made. The more frequently you pause before you speak, the briefer those pauses become over time because you are conditioning yourself to think swiftly under pressure. Initially, you might require lengthier pauses to formulate a well-considered response, and it might even feel awkward initially. However, before you realize it, you'll adeptly deliver well-considered answers because your thought process now functions at a much accelerated pace compared to others. This is why you see ayanokoji effortlessly delivering impactful responses. It's not due to memorizing lines or possessing extraordinary talent. He is merely accustomed to thinking before speaking. His brain is used to processing thoughts and responses more rapidly. So, think before you speak. That's where it all begins. If you want to level up in life, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Until next time.